Hello. Let's just give it a minute or two and then we'll get started. Jordan, what do you think? Should we get going?
Yeah, I think we have some people who've joined already. Yeah.
So first of all, good afternoon for those who are joining us from East Coast Eastern Time Zone, and good evening and good morning. We're so excited about having this conversation. Over the course of the last couple of years, I've had an extraordinary opportunity to share some of the learnings that I have been able to access from thought leaders from around the world. And this year, it really struck me that I'd like to start a series of conversations that we're calling Medley Moments with someone who I know and have seen as a leader, an entrepreneur, and a good human. And that's Jordan Taylor, my Medley co-founder, the CEO of Medley. And for those who don't know and are wondering, yes, we are related. I'm her mom. It's been super exciting for me to be on this Medley journey with Jordan and the Medley team. I come to this space after decades working in financial services, where I had the opportunity to learn in practice what it really meant to work towards creating an environment where people that I worked with could perform to their potential. That was specifically the case when I had the honor of leading with my colleagues at Goldman Sachs HR. The reality is that talent, people are at the center of most organizations that I know. And the environment, which I think we would all agree is ever changing, volatile, with significant ups and downs, presents challenges, but also presents opportunities. And we're in yet another moment of that constant change. As I thought about what would be most thought-provoking for this conversation, I thought quickly about the experience of being an entrepreneur, starting Medley as a concept in a category that quite frankly did not exist. The journey that Jordan has been on as she's graduated from university, started working, etc., is really, in some ways, you might think, quite different than what it would be if you were working in a large organization. But the reality is there are some similarities, the similarities of getting comfortable being uncomfortable, the similarity of the significance of really understanding, the purpose and the why behind everything that we do. And also as an individual to get up every morning and think what it is that I, Jordan Taylor, need to really be focused on to deliver into the experience for our members and for those who work with us in Medley on this journey. And so with that, I think we should get started. Jordan, welcome. I get to ask you questions, a little bit of a role reversal, because in my role as co-founder, I have to say I often find I'm hanging on to the train as Jordan and the team are teaching me about what it takes to really build something from scratch. Let's just start out with the why. Why did you decide to start Medley? And what is it that has surprised you in terms of the ups of the roller coaster, and what has been most challenging in terms of the downs associated with what it takes to create something that matters to people?
Oh my gosh, the ups, the downs, the why, lots of big questions. So I'll try to keep it succinct.
She did learn that from me, being succinct, by the way. That's something that I learn from her every day.
Well, thanks for having me on this discussion, and I look forward to the next 20 minutes or so, but also hope that people who are tuning in live would love to get your questions. So chime those in the chat, and we'll try to get to them and save time at the end. Why did I want to found Medley? Well, before I even really knew what Medley would be, so there was, a month or so after I'd graduated from school where I'd had an instinct around how groups can help people grow. Um,
And this
I,
is graduate school. You're talking about business school.
yes, this is
Yes.
after business school. Um, I've always been someone who has really had my greatest growth experiences in team environments and group environments, and found that in adulthood, it's really hard to find that sense of team and that sense of connection. At the same time, everyone's going through the journey of life and figuring out what they want at work, how they want to show up, how they want to lead and influence others. And there's not really a great place to go to do that. And so I had that instinct, but didn't really know what Medley was going to be yet. And after I graduated, I think I remember when you suggested that we build Medley together. And I think what's interesting is that our why has been very clear from the start around how we can help people grow through connecting with each other through groups. But it's certainly shifted and grown as well as we've realized that companies really need Medley now more than ever before. And I think that's been really exciting for us is that our why has continued to shift, to expand, to evolve as we've learned more about our customer, both on the individual side and the organizational side.
Let's dig in a little bit, Jordan, to the whys from a company's perspective. And here, I really want to give thanks and appreciation for all of the many conversations we both have had with business leaders. I would say, first and foremost, those that drive businesses through investment and understanding the talent equation. And I'm choosing those words very carefully because it's people whose sole responsibility is to drive people development are really at the core of many organizations' success. And so what is it about investing in people that you looked for and that you believe talent is looking for today? And what has changed even in the course of the decade that you've been working? And what have you heard from business leaders?
Yeah, and I'll try to share both my experiences you suggested as well as what we're hearing in conversations, because over the past 4 months, really since August, September of last year, as we've started having more active conversations with companies and really opening that door, we've probably spoken to 50, 60 plus CHROs of different companies, of different scales, of different types. And so this is incredibly top of mind. I mean, even if we zoom out a little bit, you asked how have things shifted over the past 10 years. Can share my experience, but even just in terms of the world, in 2013, this was pre-pandemic. This was pre the incredible speed of social media. If you look at social engagement now, even 10 years ago, it's certainly a difference. You look at the impact of Gen Z entering the workforce and becoming, mid, early 20-somethings individual contributors. And then you also look at the social unrest that we've seen over the past, in particular, 3-4 plus years, whether that's, the summer of 2020 with the protests around Black Lives Matter. The world has changed. And so on the one hand, it feels very obvious that if the world and the environment have changed, and also 2013, the economy was really starting to pick up. It was entering the boom that we saw through, to 2021, tail of 2021, to where we are now, where there's a lot more uncertainty from a macro perspective. And so if the world and the environment's changing quickly, it makes sense intuitively that people's experience at work would also change. And as a result, it also makes sense fairly intuitively that what people need from their managers, from their companies, has also changed. Mm-hmm. And so I think that's what we're really seeing right now is that, people have different expectations of what they need and expect from their company and from their manager. As a result, the role of the manager and the leader has never been harder. I remember in a conversation we had in October, we had a small conversation with a group of CHROs And I remember, Edith, you commented, you were like, it was hard for me in the start of the financial crisis of 07, 08. It was certainly really challenging. And Goldman at this time was really at the heart of that. And from a reputational standpoint, it was in a really challenging spot. And you said it doesn't pale to the challenges that talent leaders and business leaders are facing now, because at the same time of dealing with this economic uncertainty, you have to be a chief medical officer. You have to have opinions on social justice issues and know how to communicate those. And so I think that's really what has become glaringly obvious to us, that we can't keep doing the same things from a talent perspective, especially from a learning and development perspective, and expect a different result when the different context, people have different needs, people are more vocal about those needs. And at the same time, we are collectively building a much greater and deeper vocabulary around growth and around leadership and around impact. And so when people ask us, we had a question from a partner last week around, I really want my managers. He had just come out of a board meeting. He was feeling really energized, and he was like, we have this strategy this year, and I really need my managers to be motivated to get after this strategy. I want them to communicate with our clients more effectively. I want them to be more, be clearer with their team. This is what I need. And he was like, how is Medley going to help me do that? And I said, honestly, we're not the best place to do a training on how to communicate with clients. We are the best place to help dig in a layer beneath that and help people build self-awareness, build interpersonal skills, and build confidence. And I think that 10 years ago, that comment could have been met with, oh my gosh, that doesn't even make sense. What are those skills? Self-awareness, what does that even mean? But now it's like, oh, well, I kind of get it. Like, you need the base of the pyramid, you need a foundation. And so that was not succinct at all, but I think covers quite a few of the themes that we're really seeing right now.
So, I think that, thank you for sharing those things. And I will share that you have given me feedback quite a bit over our lives. Quite frankly, you were an early talker and always had an opinion. But more recently, as we started to work together, you asked, what are the things that really have been pillars of your thinking? Because, perhaps we can incorporate it. And I said, oh, I got it. That which doesn't kill you makes you stronger. That has really inspired me. And you looked at me and you're like, seriously? Like if you can survive, it inspires you to move forward. Like, the whole construct that work has to be about survival. I mean, we need to unpack that, but that's not a 5-minute conversation. But that does summarize, for me, the fact that, we do all have to evolve. And the expectation, as you've described, Jordan, that that companies should be a place where people can be human, which is what you've described, bring all aspects of their reality into the workplace and still thrive and excel, etc., is actually a positive move forward and an expectation that we have to live up to. And so I would think that, therefore, the definition of leadership has to evolve. And so, how do you think about that? What has your leadership style been? And how have you seen it evolve even in the years that we have worked together in Medley? So comment on your leadership style with the team, with people who are interested in exploring Medley. You can also share what it's like to lead in our co-founding relationship.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing that jumps out to me in terms of this definition of leadership, even over the past 10, 15 years, is I really feel like it's expanded. Like, being a great leader, being someone who is great at inspiring people and connecting with people, there's not just one way to do that. And what Jordan looks like stepping into her leadership and being at her and flourishing is going to look very different even from you. leading, and we're related, and some people say we're fairly similar. So, I don't know, but everyone has their own unique strengths and everyone has their own unique style. And so I think what excites me is that there's no one definition. I think that there's certain things that for me are important for great leaders. One of those is continuously learning, continuously growing. The most impactful people are always looking for opportunities to learn at every stage of their career. And I see that actually in you. You've had great success in your career, and yet you're still in a situation where you're learning every single day, and you seek that out almost voraciously. The other thing that I think is very consistent is the ability to listen, because that really helps anyone connect with another person and understand where they're coming from and empathize with them. And, I think the other thing that is really sort of connected to that, but different, is around self-awareness. So that doesn't mean, all the time being in full control or knowing exactly how you're coming off, but it does mean that there's a curiosity. It does mean that there's a recognition when you might not come off as you intend, and being open to that, and soliciting that feedback, and always really looking to learn and evolve, which is my first piece. In terms of my own style, I think, I have some unique strengths. I think I'm really great at connecting with people. I really enjoy, and I'm curious about them. I'm curious about their lives. I love getting to know others, and I think that comes out in a genuine way, especially when I'm talking to new people and sharing the vision of Medley with them.
So can I just interrupt, Jordan?
Mhm.
I just want to highlight that, because as you talked about the fact that you actually enjoy, or interested and intrigued with connecting and learning from others, I really want to put an emphasis on that, because I think that is one of the core tenets that we can all develop. There are some things that are going to be harder, but actually having a curiosity and an engagement to learn and understand leads to connection, regardless of what your style and approach is. So I think that's a super important point.
I appreciate that. Thank you. I really do think, like, one of the greatest journeys just as in life and as people is in understanding others, understanding yourself, and it never ends. And I think, the most self-aware person will say that actually I'm still getting to know myself, and like that's never going to end. And so, really, for me, I genuinely view learning as an ongoing process. I think that's also part of the impetus and the why behind Medley, is like helping people throughout their journey, and be there for them in an ongoing way. But yeah.
Someone put up a comment that said, "Listen, learn, be humble." Well said. And thanks for sharing that, Jordan. We hear a lot about the extraordinary entrepreneurs who have built important businesses and started them from nothing. And sometimes you can listen to these stories and go, "Oh, this is a piece of cake," But we know that the path to impact is not always a straight line. How do you deal with that as an entrepreneur, particularly given that tailwinds can turn into headwinds instantly, and often the counsel that you have to seek is your own, right? So let's talk about leadership in the construct of leading yourself through the early stages and never-ending uncertainty of being an entrepreneur.
Yes.
That was a question that was put in the chat. Thanks for that question.
Yes. Thank you, Henry. Henry's my brother, so that's kind of fun that he put in that question. Hi, Henry. Edith played it cool, not me. Henry, good to see you. I think that's the hardest part, is maintaining connection to the things that keep you grounded throughout the ups and the downs, because the highs are really high, but the lows are also really low. And so much of building a business is in getting comfortable with the fact that you're going to get 10 no's for every 3 yeses, maybe 2 yeses, and you have to just keep building on those 2 yeses and say, okay, great. If I need to get to 100, I need to get 500 no's, and that'll get me to 100 yeses. And so I think this is something I'm still working on, in all honesty. I think part of the joy of getting to build Medley is that I care so much about what we're doing. And I think also doing it with you, I really feel like this is just, I feel very grateful. So I want to keep the adventure going. I want to keep things moving. And so I care deeply on a lot of different levels. But I think I've also gotten better at this over the past 4 years. And so for me, that looks like doing things that I know fill me up more. So whether that's spending time with friends, spending time with family, with my husband, Nick, with my dog, Howie, those things really help me stay connected. And um, also recognizing, when I'm in a period where I'm very, very stressed, or where I feel like I'm, behind and underwater, kind of appreciating that this is a period. It's not permanent. We're going to get through it. Time always continues. Change is never ending. And so if it's in a difficult period, we just keep going, and then things will eventually get a little bit easier. But, right now, I think right now I feel incredibly grateful. I feel incredibly excited about this year because we're getting so many positive inputs every day, whether it's a partner who wants to do a pilot for 300 people, or whether it's an exciting prospective investor conversation. I just see us starting to pick up momentum, and I know that what Medley looks like in the next 3 months, 1 month, is going to be very different from where we are now. And so, feeling appreciative of the specific moment we're in now.
So, you did mention the uncertainty and stresses, and how you have to be resilient and pick yourself up, and keep moving forward. And I think that it's super important for us just to spend a minute on talking about some of the challenges that come with this uncertainty. Every morning I wake up, I read what I read, and the list of companies that are letting go folks is getting longer and longer. And when I read references to the 2008 financial crisis, I go back to that period of time, and the challenges for so many people across so many different companies. And how do you move forward? I spent time speaking with some of our Medley members. One amazing person was most concerned about those people on her team, in the shrinking team, tried to volunteer herself, and then also recognized, and that was not accepted, but also realized that it had implications on how she thought about the organization and moving forward. And so, we haven't been immune to that either. We've had to recalibrate our growth plans, and made some difficult people decisions. And they're hard. Let me just put that out there. And if you're not feeling that it's difficult and hard, you need to recalibrate. Because in the long run, I am confident that, we will, in some time frame, see, the return to a more stable economic environment. But lives have been affected, and that will take time to recover. It's important to be human about that. How have you thought about that, in terms of being a leader? How have you shown up, and would you suggest people show up to, colleagues or friends who have been impacted, i.e., lost their jobs, or in other ways during this downturn?
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, how I've tried to show up with the team is really from a place of transparency and openness, and recognizing, okay, here's where we are, here's where we need to go, here are the things that need to fall into place. Here's what we can do to try to reduce some of those risks. And I think that at this time and in this moment, for me, that's the best thing that we could be doing, is just being open, because everyone on the Medley team is so bought in, cares so much about what we're creating. And I do really feel like we're really all rowing in the same direction. And so that's really been my philosophy. But, it's been certainly interesting as an aside, in terms of building a business that's starting to sell into companies where their budgets are getting tighter, and they're worried about the macro environment too. that being said, I've been inspired on that front by some companies that are really thinking, okay, I know that we're tightening our belt right now, but at the same time, I need to keep my people motivated and growing, enable them to really achieve their goals this year and be set up for success. And I'm still going to invest, even though it's not the same as it was last year. And so I think that's been really exciting that companies are seeing that, and also employees are realizing that it's really motivating and inspiring that their company is still investing in them. And so, would love if there's any other questions. I know we see you got a few in the chat, but I'd love seeing people's comments.
Well, we're looking at that. I'd like to give a shout out to all that are joining live. I see Laura Booth, who is a dear friend, a seasoned HR executive who I've often gone to get perspective on what it's like to be human in the job and to keep ourselves grounded, because I often say and know that we are, as leaders, broadly defined, at the center of the experience of our people. In fact, I would go so far as to say, if you're a great leader, you're at the center of what's going on with your people. And so, the craft of leadership is continued to evolve, and investing in understanding the human dynamic in your people is not a growth bull market phenomenon. It requires consistency, attention, and understanding of the evolving perspective that extraordinary people will always look to see. And so if there are other, are there questions? What part do medleys play in your life, Jordan? That's a question from Dom.
Thank you, Dom, for the question. I mean, I'm someone who really, as I said, starting at the beginning around the whys, like I really thrive with others. I have lots of different teams and communities that I'm in now, whether that's just sort of a friend group from college or from business school, or groups that I've sort of been a part of over the past couple of years, even in a formal capacity. So I've been in a women's circle. I'm in a founders group that's similar to Medley, slightly different format now that's been meeting for 2 years. And I think I know that, I'm someone who really enjoys and values being around people. And so I try to create that for myself. Specifically what role, I think for me, is perspective. It's ongoing perspective and ongoing commitment. Commitment more so out of the formal groups that I'm in, but for my friendships, my relationships, they're really sources of perspective and reminding me that that's really what life is about. It's about our relationships. It's about family. It's about friends, and work is important, but it's not the be all end all of my entire life. And so it helps keep me grounded and helps me keep that perspective.
And that's a great segue into Dee Kane's question. What feedback are you getting from people in Medley coaching groups? Are we delivering that for our members? And what feedback have we gotten?
Yes. So people usually come in for growth and they leave being very appreciative of the meaningful relationships that they formed, and the power of the vulnerability and connection that comes in the groups. And so we actually also often get the feedback explicitly that they feel like it's time for them to take a step back to get perspective in their life and to feel more grounded. And so I appreciate that question, Dee. And thank you, Ian and Yusuf, for the comments as well. Thank you, everyone, for all of your great comments.
So unfortunately, we are at time. We do always walk away from Medley conversations with a greater sense of what's top of mind, and we learn from them. So we appreciate those that have joined live. We also thank those that have and will listen in after the fact. Medley has been an extraordinary journey. It has been, for me, experiencing what I've heard for decades, which is doing work that you're deeply passionate about and care about helps you thrive. And that has been the experience working with Jordan and Medley. human interaction, connection is at the core of so much, and one's ability to get outside of their day-to-day and the lanes that they must prioritize, and be intentional about how to think about the framing of personal and professional priorities is a super opportunity. We welcome individuals into the Medley universe. With Medley, we're launching our next cohort in February. Do I have that right, Jordan? March. Thank you.
March. Yeah.
And in the meantime, we look forward to further Medley moments and conversation. So thanks again for joining, and get the most that you can out of the day, evening, and that might just be chilling. So thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you.